Hello, everyone. I'm Terry McCabe.
And I'm Katie McCabe.
Welcome to episode 3 of the McCabe Life and the Abiding Love podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking all about how to fall in love all over again. I love you so much. I do.
I love you too.
All right, guys, check it out.
If you're like us, that day you said I do, you meant it when you said, till death do us part. What you thought would be a fairy tale and a happily ever after has turned into one of the toughest things that you've ever gone through in your life. We believe that God designed our marriages to be a blessing that brought us so much joy and so much happiness, as well as brought us closer to Him. Unfortunately, that's not what's taking place today in our world. Marriages are ending at an unbelievable rate. Families are being torn apart and people's lives are being changed forever. Welcome to Abiding Love Radio. My name is Terry McCabe.
And I'm Katie McCabe.
In this podcast, our hope is to encourage you, pray for you, and give you tips, tools, and resources that you can use to help your marriage today so that your marriage will thrive tomorrow.
So, how to fall in love all over again. Isn't that what you want? Absolutely. Well, what are we talking about tonight, babe?
We want to talk about those of you who are feeling like your marriage is just kind of stagnant, right? We know there's plenty of situations that are more severe and might need a different assistance. But if you're just in that place where you're like, I love my husband, or I love my wife, but we don't feel that spark, that excitement about each other. And there's kind of this like American joke, you see it in sitcoms that like marriages just become blah after a certain number of years, and that's just how it is. And we laugh at those shows, and it's funny because a lot of it can be true, but we don't want that to be the end of the story for any of us, right? We truly believe that the longer that you're married, the deeper that your marriage gets, doesn't have to mean the more dull it becomes. And so we want to talk about a couple of simple things. In fact, we're going to give you 6 simple things, 2 for both of you, 2 for you ladies, and 2 for you men, that you guys can just be thinking about and focusing on in the context of, hey, I want to kind of feel that spark, that excitement, that thrill toward each other again. So really simple. I'll share one of the things for both. He'll share one of the things for both. And then I'm going to talk to you ladies for a second. He's going to talk to you guys for a sec.
I mean, these are just, they're practical, right?
Yeah.
That's the idea. They're practical things that you can do right now, and just implement right now. And I'd love to know what you guys think about them after it's done or after you try them, and just see how your spouse responded. But they're going to be practical. These aren't things that are going to take years to implement by any means. Develop a culture of just great sound biblical knowledge in your home, and your marriage is fixed tomorrow. Yeah. Like, well, that's going to take a lot of time, and you should develop a biblical culture. I do believe that, but those things take time. These are actually things that take, some could take time, but in a sense you could act on them and implement these things right away. So,
yeah. So the first one for both of you guys to be thinking about that is super simple is act like you're dating. Like, remember what it was like when we were in that phase of you're getting to know each other. There's still a lot of mystery there, things that you're exploring, things that you're discovering. And there was this element of sweetness and spontaneity and elements of being romantic and being really intentional. And when we get into years of marriage and paying bills and child rearing, a lot of that stuff absolutely dies, and we don't have that anymore. And so just think back, and some of this might be customized. Think back to your dating time. It looked different than ours, right? But simple things that we thought of like, what were things that were special to us that when we were dating that we have worked to kind of ignite in our marriage, like super simple check in with each other, send a sweet text. One thing that he does that's like so sweet is he'll send me texts with like a really romantic, just link to a YouTube song and just say, love you, thinking of you today. Like small things that it was like second nature when you were dating. And oftentimes now we forget to do those things. So be thinking about what was it like when you were dating? What are the things that you did that you were intentional about, and try to re-implement some of those things again.
Yeah, those things, I think she was mentioning like sending a song, right? It's simply because because I'm intentional about trying to impress my wife still and trying to get her to say like, oh, that was so sweet, there's this like element to where it becomes fun. Because when you think about when you were dating, that was the point. It was you're like trying to get more attention. You were trying to get your partner to say something like, oh, honey, like, thank you, you're so sweet, or I love you. Like, you had reason. Now it's kind of like what happens is you stop trying. So if you change your motivation to go back to like, how can I get my wife to ooh and ah and just treat it like that and, you know, win those husband points, you know, not that those exist. They're made up.
They're there. Let's be real.
You know, win wife credit, right? It's, you know, it's one of those things where you were trying, when you were dating, you were doing that, right? You were always doing things to try to get your wife to say, or at the time, maybe your girlfriend, somebody you were dating, to say, ooh and ah, like, wasn't that fun? To thinking about you. So if you go back to making that your motivation, it becomes easy to go do these things. And that's kind of that second. So the second thing that's kind of for both of you, and this is what we're going to talk about this one now, right? So the second thing that we really felt like was a really good both of you thing that you can try is do something together that makes you really laugh. So we've mentioned like, I mean, at sometimes you probably laughed while you were dating, but some of you guys even went to comedy clubs, you watched funny movies. You know, there's a lot of things that might make you laugh, a funny show, a skit, something that you're entertained by, but it's something where you guys smile and laugh together. Just the act of smiling and laughing can change everything that's going on in your brain. And whoever you're doing that with, you're automatically attracted, you know, to them in a sense, right? Or you're drawn to them because you can even have, you're connected in that sense, right? Like, haven't you ever had a friend, like usually when you think about your best friend, you probably laugh together, right? And you're connected because you smile and laugh and your face mimic each other in that parenting, you know, kids walk in, it's just part of it. Your face mimic each other and you're like either laughing together or crying together or sad. So when you do those things together, especially the laughing and smiling, that person becomes connected to you and you're drawn to one another because of the way you feel when you're with them. So if you're not laughing in your marriage, you know, it's probably, you should go do something fun together to spark up the smiles and the laughter and just that emotion, because whoever you're feeling that emotion with, usually you'll feel connected to that person and closer to that person, and it'll bring a connection.
Yeah, just about, it's that those experiences are like part of the foundation of our relationship. So if we stop having those experiences on purpose, it's like we built a foundation, but we're not continuing to build the rest of the house, right? So I love that. So I'm going to talk to you ladies really quick, 2 simple things, and then Terry's going to talk to you guys really quick, 2 simple things. So ladies, first of all, before we do these, there could be like 50 on each end, right? We just picked 2 for each, just to give you guys some examples of things that are important, that are valuable.
Yeah, and I just want to preface, with each of these, there's grace. So, you know, we're going to give you some practical things. You don't have to be doing these every night, right? There is a level that when you were dating, you were always on, you know, because you were trying to put your best foot forward each night and every time you hung out. But we do recognize that in marriage, there is times for you to have an off night and you need to be accepted and loved by your spouse, but you shouldn't have like an off marriage 24/7. Does it make sense? So there is a level of getting to know one another where you're okay, but you can't just be all of a sudden coexist. You need to have the intentionality. It's a great word. Intentionality of wanting to pursue one another and get the oohs and ahs and laugh and do those things. So when we give these tips, it's not to condemn you if you've not done them in a while. First off, sometimes life happens. It's to encourage you and to know that, once again, if you can't do this at this moment or every day, it's okay. You don't have to in your marriage, and you should be able to have those, but it should be something that you should be doing and intentionally trying to put into practice.
Work toward those things. The way that I think about it is like, when we're dating, we're like on all the time. Like, just like he said, like they're trying to sweep the girl off their feet. We are trying to be as pretty as possible and present ourselves. I mean, we're trying to do everything we can to win him over, right? And so, but then when we get married, oftentimes it goes into this like, well, unconditional love says that you love me with all my flaws, but that doesn't mean we should just only ever bring our flaws to the table, right?
Only show flaws all the time.
Sometimes it's our best self when we're dating, and well, you got a ring on, so you got to stick with me now, right? And it shouldn't be like that. I think there should be a really good blend in both. There should be transparency when you're dating, and there should be efforts to care a little bit when we're married. And it's very easy for us to kind of fade from those things. And so, ladies, couple things, just 2 things for you to be thinking about that you can work on implementing right now. Number 1, the one that everyone struggles with talking about, but it's a real part of marriage and it's really important. It is so important, ladies, to prioritize time for intimacy with your husband. And it's such a sensitive topic. There's a lot going on around that. And I don't want you to think that it's like, well, in order to win his love and affection, you have to do that. We're not promoting that at all. But it is a very real need for both husband and wife, and especially men. And it is the source of the most vulnerable place of connection. So there are so many times in marriage where intimacy has a sensitivity because there's situations that have surrounded it that have become painful or difficult. And those are things that are worth working through and talking about. We can recommend books on the subject, but just the simplicity of making a point to prioritize time for that on a regular, real consistent basis is going to offer you and your husband such a sweet connection to be really raw and vulnerable. Like the morning after we have that time together, he has this like natural oozing affection toward me because we've had that sweet connection time. Like it's like he just bathes me in that doting lovingness, and he'll tell me, it's like, this is not me trying to like win points. It's like genuinely, it's just flowing from me because we had that sweet connection time together. And so when we offer that on a consistent basis, it's going to give us such a sweet new level of connection. All right, ladies, the second thing that is something simple that you can begin implementing right now is something we want to call aim to please. Remember we were talking about when we were dating, we had this like constant desire to look our best and present ourselves. Just like Terry said in the beginning, there's so much grace. We as wives need to be able to sometimes just have our sweatpants on and our hoodie and no makeup and cuddle and watch a movie. And that is totally a wonderful part of being in a love connection relationship, right? But it's also great for our husbands to be able to have times where we really present ourselves and we really make an effort to look our best. Or here's another idea. If you had your boyfriend when you were dating over and you cooked him dinner, what would your house have looked like that day when you invited him over? Would you have had like your underwear on the floor and the trash is like overflowing and there's stuff down there, right? Would you have had the sink piled with dishes? No, you would have spent 2 hours before he came making your house look amazing and making yourself look amazing and making dinner phenomenal. Those are small, simple things that men really appreciate, especially if you're staying at home as a mom or a wife and your husband's out working. And it gets just not spotless. Don't scrub the baseboards every day. It's okay, right? But when the house is picked up and you've created an environment that he's excited to come home to, you know, a place that is generally organized and kept clean. And again, you don't have to have your primed makeup every day, but make an effort on a regular basis to make yourself presentable. And then if you're going to have, you know, a special date night or whatever, really maybe do yourself up and think like Terry did. Remember what did you say that was so good about how like you almost like make it fun again, where it's like, I'm going to see if I can like, maybe you've been married for 15 years, but maybe you got a new top and you got a new necklace or whatever, and you're going to curl your hair. See if you can get him to be like, whoa, look at you, right? Like make it almost fun where you're like, I'm aiming to get his attention, to catch his eye with how I'm going to get dressed up. Make it fun like that again. And these are small things that can add a sweet little spice and really impress and bless your husband. Ready?
Yeah.
Your turn.
All right, men. The ladies got 2, so I got 2 for you. With everything, there's grace, and I'll kind of have here's the overwhelming theme of the men's side. These are some practical tips that you can use if you just want to rack your brain for ideas. But here's the side that becomes I think even more in everything that you're doing, if you have the underlining theme, I want my wife to know that I'm thinking of her, you'll probably be fine.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense? So like if everything, it doesn't really matter what you do. If it sends the message that you're thinking of her, you're probably on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So here's some practical ideas. So the first thing is let her know you're thinking of her. Hey, I just called you because I missed you. Wives will appreciate that. I missed you. I'm on my way home. How was your day? Right? You're with the kids. Man, you've been home with the kids all day. Occasionally, it's not that fun. Anybody who's had kids longer than 2 minutes knows that. So, but all joking aside, in reality, that phone call, hey, how was your day, honey? Like, I love you. I was just thinking of you. I'm on my way home. Is there anything I can grab for you? Like that phone call alone just lets your spouse know that you care, that you're thinking of them, that you're on your mind, and do it. And if you really want to do it at a time they wouldn't expect. Call them at 9. Right? If you're at work for a few hours, you have a 10-minute break, call them. Right? Send them a text. Right? If you've heard a new song that was on the radio and it just made you think of them, let them know. Oftentimes it might, you actually might say, oh, that reminds me of my wife. And send her the text. Like, don't hold back on that, So, send that text, songs, bring flowers. I know flowers can be kind of cliche, but I don't care what woman's out there. They just like flowers, They just do,
And it's not because the flowers mean anything. It's because the flowers mean you were thinking of me.
Right? And so I think that comes to it. So don't just buy flowers on Valentine's Day. Don't be that person. Now, they want flowers on Valentine's Day, but so you can't also not do it on Valentine's Day. But that's the point, is don't just do it on Valentine's Day, right? If you do it all the time, they'll just appreciate it more, right? It's easy to give flowers on Valentine's Day, and almost in a sense, it's like you have to. And it means less, right? Now, once again, they don't want to be the only girl without flowers, so make sure you do it. But just bringing flowers occasionally, once a month, you can get flowers pretty cheap at a lot of places. You don't have to go spend $120 on roses. Like, there's $5 bouquets. It does not. You could grab a flower from a neighbor's yard and bring it in and say, hey, I just love you and I wanted to give you this. Like, does that make sense? Yeah. Right? Like, it doesn't have to be extravagant. They just want to know you're thinking of them, right? And so I think that's the underlying thing. Like, just show your spouse, show your wife that you're thinking of them in different ways. And if you are, send them a little message and just say, I'm thinking of you, right? It's amazing how far that will go, right? The second one kind of goes back to what we were originally talking about for both of you, is go back to treating each other how you were dating. But when we were dating, like, you made plans to take your wife out, right? Like, at the time, you made plans to take your girlfriend out. You didn't say, hey, make all the plans and let me know where to go and I'll pay for it.
Which, let's be real, in marriage,
that's what you do.
Wife gets the babysitter. We arrange babysitter.
Usually arrange a babysitter. Oftentimes arrange where you want to go, or you say where you want to eat. Yeah. I don't care, babe. Whatever. I'm taking you out. I'll pay for it. Where do you want to eat? Right. So don't have that. Like, I will say, yes, sometimes they don't know where they want to eat. Right. But the idea is, like, just choose something. When you were dating, you were excited to show them this place because you thought in your mind they would say ooh and ah about it, right? So go date your wife, handle the child care, take care of that if need, surprise her, make it spontaneous, or tell her we're going out, but I've made the plans for it. So all you have to do is be ready by 6. And that's what you did. You didn't get them ready, right? You would go pick them up from their house at 6 or 7 or whenever, 5:30, whenever the reservations were, and you'd pick them up and you'd take them out on a date. You could go to a nice restaurant, or you just take them out to play mini golf. It doesn't matter. All of these things are still acceptable because they all represent the one thing that our wives are usually looking for, is just that time and affection. They just want to know that they're a huge, important part of your life. They will want to know that they still are attractive to you, that they are still worth pursuing. Does that make sense? So all of those signs are telltale signs that you still do love them and you appreciate everything that they do, and you want to make them feel loved and, worthy of being pursued. Where I think we mess up is we get in this like, oh, I've already won her over, so I'm done. And then you see this discontentment, right? And then oftentimes guys come to me and wonder why their wife doesn't want to be more intimate. It's because like I don't feel connected. He doesn't talk to me. He doesn't pursue me. He doesn't make me feel beautiful. He just sits around and then occasionally asks me for sex, right? But be honest, guys, like that's the truth. And if you're guilty out there, but we've all been guilty at times. So no guy is perfect. There's always seasons where they could be better about pursuing their wife, but go do it. And that's the, learn their love language, right? Some women like really words of affirmation floors them, right? Some like quality time, some like gifts. There's a lot of different love languages out there, and every girl has their own ones that they appreciate more than others. So if you don't know your wife's opportunity, go learn, right? Go learn what they really makes them ooh and ah and really enjoy, and be spontaneous and do things to get their attention in that way. So hopefully that helps. Yeah.
What's fun about these things is a lot of them you can do all at once. You can send the sweet romantic text the same day that you're going to take her out on a date. And then ladies, you can show them some love that evening. I mean, there's so many ways where you can incorporate all of these things at one time, and really they don't have to break the bank and they don't have to take a ton of time. It's really simple acts of showing each other that you care, that you recognize their needs and their preferences and the things that give them joy, and being able to meet those needs. It's such a powerful connection when we come together and we enjoy each other again, putting the bills aside and the kids aside and everything else. This is where it all began, right? This is where it all began, on a simple little date, right? Go back to that simplicity, put away all the grown-up stuff, and be intentional about doing that on a regular basis. And I bet you're going to see some real sparks and sweetness as you build that connection together. So we'd love for you guys to try one of these things. That's your action plan. That's your challenge for today. Whoever's watching, husband, wife, whoever. And if you're that spouse who's like, I'm the only one trying, that's okay. Try some of the things that we gave for you as a wife or for you as a husband, and see if you get a little bit of a shift from your spouse. So go try some of these things and then share with us your experience in the comments. Share what happened, or if there was some success, or if there was some excitement, or if you noticed a good response from your spouse. We'd love to hear those things and continue to encourage you guys.
Well, thanks so much again, and we look forward to talking to you guys more and connected more, and even bringing you guys more and more content on a weekly basis. So you guys have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. Hey friends, I'm Terry McCabe.
I'm Katie McCabe.
And so we hope you enjoyed that video. One of the things we know is that there's so much hurt out there. So many marriages are struggling right now, and they just need a place that they can come to, and maybe a safe spot where they can kind of just talk about what's going on in their life and have other people lifting them up and encouraging them. So if you are somebody who is looking for that community of people that can help you, and just a safe spot to be vulnerable and just talk about what's going on in your marriage, we have a Facebook community. We'd love you to join. It's our Facebook group. We'll go ahead and put links to it. You go ahead and just ask to be a part of the community, and we'd love to have you in there, and we'd love to continue to encourage you. We have videos just like this. So we wanted to offer that, extend that to you, and we hope to see you in there. Okay, you guys have a great day.